At some point I think that we should be as pixelated as our theme music suggests we are.
Well, in that case, we need to find a nice pixel artist who can draw us some pixely avatars to do that with.
Very good point. Well, anyone listening, if you have suggestions, let us know. I'd be interested. In the meantime, though, our very non-pixelated selves are here for TPK, Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
I am Alex, and welcome to the show.
Yes, once again, we're still doing it after all these months. So there's that. Can't stop us. Can't stop us now.
Please don't stop us now.
Don't stop us now. No, we're having such a good time.
We're having a ball.
All right, we're not going to do the whole slide. Okay, so in Weekly Muse, there was this very large acquisition that happened, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Instead, we're going to be talking about the folks over at, I believe it was Techland, who are creating Dying Light 2, and a very interesting statement that they had made that got attention for reasons that you don't normally associate with getting the attention. So they basically, Techland came out, the developers of Dying Light 2, and basically said that the game is 500 hours long.
Yeah, you had mentioned that, and I was like, that's a lot of hours to put into a game.
Especially if you had played the original Dying Light and realized that was not 500 hours long. No. And I had played it, and I can tell you that 40 or 50 hours, that would make sense. You could do a lot, most of everything in the game in that time. 500 hours seemed long, and the community kind of lost their minds, not in the, oh my god, look at how much content there is, but, oh, that's too much. In that kind of, I don't think I want this game to be 500 hours long. Mostly because I got the impression people were thinking that this feels like there's going to be a lot of filler if that's the case.
Yeah, 500 hours is a lot of game. And if it was, hey, the campaign or main story takes 500 hours, no thank you.
No, because if you have a main campaign that takes 500 hours, that's like epic series, like television series, back to back to back to back. An 8-season long television show is not that many hours to do storyline. Yeah. So I don't know about that. So what they had to do, they came out to do a clarification. And the way they clarified it, and they made a graphic for it so that it would make it easy to understand, is
which you're probably going to throw up on the screen.
I will be throwing it up on the screen if you're watching this, but I'm also going to read it from Dying Light Game on Twitter. We wanted to clarify our recent communication about the amount of hours required to complete the game. Dying Light 2 Stay Human is designed for players with different gameplay styles and preferences to explore the world how they see fit. Hashtag Dying Light 2, and then they have a graphic, and they show, basically, if I pull up the actual thing, that the time needed to complete the main storyline is 20 hours. Okay. The time needed to finish the main story and all of the side quests, it would be 80, and then the time needed to max out the game, all main and side quests, choices and endings, checking every place on the map, every dialogue, and finding every collectible would be the 500 hours. And I'm assuming that also means you'd have to be through multiple playthroughs if there are different choices and endings that you would have to go through. So
sure.
So that's helpful. That's
a bit different than just saying we've got 500 hours in the game and saying, here's a breakdown of why we say there's 500 hours, because, yeah, it's not all story, it's just if you include everything you can do in the game.
Yeah, it would be very helpful to clarify that. It did get me to thinking about the idea of game length, which we've talked about occasionally on the show, but I mean, you can kind of see that there's a big disparity between a 20-hour main storyline and a 500-hour I do everything in the game. There's a bit of a difference there.
There's just a little bit of a magnitude difference between 20 and 500.
Just a little bit. And it's not that there aren't games that you could spend 500 hours playing. I think we can both agree that there have been.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are gamers who spend more than 500 hours in their favorite shooters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is that for single-player games that are like the open-world settings, you might assume a few things about like your overall game length. I think, like for a lot of the open worlds, not necessarily the RPGs, but just open world settings, I think they usually assume that it's going to be around 40 or 50 hours. That seems to be right around the amount of time that you figure you're going to be spending with it. If you are an Assassin's Creed, you might end up trying to stretch that a lot more. I think when I was playing Odyssey, noting that I hadn't even looked at certain parts of the map, I was already about 80 or 90 hours in.
Yeah.
And then Valhalla was apparently even larger.
Yeah.
With more stuff. But I think the difference is, and we're getting to the point where people live kind of hectic lives, and we're always busy, we're always moving around and everything, and so 500 hours, when you were a kid, it was like, oh, this is my week, my year, this is great. Nowadays, it's kind of like, I'd kind of like to finish or get to the good stuff at some point, please.
Yeah, it's a bit different than when we were kids playing games and we could just do whatever, but now, as I believe most of us are probably adults, either between college age or mid-30s, who listen to this and are around, we've got things going on.
Yeah.
Like work, or school, or children, or other things, that we can't just play a game for 500 hours, like for a main story. And if we look at that, we go, that's a lot. I don't think I can commit to that.
Yeah, gone are the days where I was able to have my friend come over and we would just play Morrowind for 11 hours straight.
I mean, I would like to be able to maybe play a game for that long, but at the same time, I don't think my body would like that anymore.
No, and the thing about it is that back in those days, you could do that, and then you'd be ready to do it again, like, the next day.
Oh, yeah.
These days, you have to, like, schedule that. You have to arrange time so that you can do that, and good luck.
Or you have to be a streamer.
Or you have to be a streamer. That's why.
And you have to be making money doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because then it's a job. But then you have to make the game your job in order for this to make sense to play. Yeah. But anyway, and there's probably going to be a streamer that says, we're going to try that 500-hour Dying Light 2 challenge. It's going to be the 500-hour... Good luck for you. I hope that works out. The completionist. If Gerard has to do Dying Light 2, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gerard. But anyway, yeah, 20-hour I can see. An 80-hour is a lot. That is actually still pretty weighty just to do side quests in the main story. 500 hours is I'm a fan of the original Dying Light. I'll be interested. I want to play Dying Light 2, but no. That isn't too much. That is too many of the hours. And I think the impression people got initially, and what I saw when I first read that, was that sounds like it's going to be mostly filler content. Because a lot of games, when they start boasting about the hundreds and hundreds of hours that they have, it's not really that there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of content. There's hundreds of hours of fetch quests and filler things and randomized quest lines and events.
Yeah,
and
those
stuff.
Radiant quests, not as fun.
Yeah, the Radiant quests that come into the game. Oh, there's another settlement that needs your help. Thanks, yes. Preston. How many of these do you have? As many as you possibly want. Damn it.
I hope you include a small voice, small clip of that line
God.
From the video in there really quick.
Oh, yeah.
In the video portion.
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. I'll mark it on your map. Go find out what they need. We could use more settlements supporting our cause.
I don't really think that 500 hours is necessary. Frankly, unless you have really put a lot of actual stuff in the game, and it's not necessarily just randomly generated quests, 100 seems perfectly reasonable. like they're saying 80. If 80 was like literally to do everything in the game, I think I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain framework here. I don't mind getting more bang for my buck, but there's a point where it seems like the bang is not really so much of a bang. These are not necessarily hours I'm going to be enjoying, but hours I have to slog through to get to the good stuff.
Right.
And therefore, it doesn't feel like a game anymore. It feels like a series of chores to get to the actual game part. So I think that's why there was pushback that maybe Techland probably did not expect to have by announcing how long their game was.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Have you had any experiences with games that were either too long or really could have been fleshed out more?
Yeah, plenty. I can't think of a specific one offhand, but there are plenty of games I've played that I just don't finish.
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned it before. I have severe gaming ADHD. I go from one game to another game fairly often, unless one grabs my attention for an extended amount of time, and then I get bored a little bit and play something else, and then I go back and forth between games.
Sure. The thing about it is you're probably not alone, because in terms of the actual percentage of gamers that actually finish games, by and large, it's usually a fairly small percentage. Like, from the people that pick it up and actually play it to the people that complete it, it's usually only 10% or something like that.
Well, back when I had a console, I used to actually play games, because I mostly played the JRPGs on the PS2 era, you know.
Sure.
So I would get, like, my Final Fantasy X or my .hack, and I would play the game, and I'd complete the game, and I'd, put 300 hours into Final Fantasy X on my PS2.
Sure.
And then, I'd play the games to completion, but that's part of also because those games pull you through the game, which is, I think, what we disagree on, why you don't like JRPGs, and I do. But with, I think, the size of our gaming libraries these days, and just the way games are made now as opposed to back 16 years ago, it's just that there's so much more going on in the game aside from the main story that it just pulls you in so many directions. Like Skyrim, for instance. I love Skyrim. Skyrim's fun. I enjoy it. They go, all right, cool. You got out of the cave. Have fun.
Yeah, they'll give you a quest marker for like the main quest, and it'd say there's the direction that you technically should go if you want to start the main quest.
Right.
But it is completely open. So you
And I believe it took me hundreds of hours of actual playtime in Skyrim to finally go, all right, I'm going to finish the main quest and the main side quest.
Yes.
Or sorry, the story A and story B, which are the Dragonborn aspect, killing killing Alduin. And then the other one is the Civil War.
Yeah, the Stormcloaks and the Imperials,
Yeah, so I was like, I'm going to make a character, I'm going to complete these two main quests, and so I can actually complete what I consider the main story of Skyrim.
Yeah.
Fallout 4, I have not completed the main story still. I do not care about my son, Sean.
And most people didn't. And most people probably, spoiler alert for a 6 or 7 year old game, might have just gone against him and killed him off. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, I do know obviously. I've seen enough playthroughs and videos with it.
Most people know.
A lot of Mitten Squad. But
and I have tried all 4 of the endings for 4.
And it's just
I play the 4 endings. So.
With the games like that, I go, okay, cool. I don't care about this main story. It doesn't grab my attention. Yeah. So I go off and do other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's other games for me, like Elite Dangerous, which, again, I am a long-term fan of, which I have over 700 hours of in the game, but it's an open world, not open world, open universe fucking sandbox, where there's not a main story to drive me. It's because I like to explore. It's because I enjoy doing the things in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've had a lot of games, and like a lot of, I guess maybe you'd call them the cozy games, but like a Stardew Valley, I probably have a good 150 hours playing Stardew Valley. Even though the main quest is done after like season 2. Like after you're done with the second like season, in the game, your grandfather comes back and basically says, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, and here's what you accomplished, and yippee skippy." But that doesn't mean you can't keep playing for 10 years, 20 years, however in game that you want. So I've had those situations before, maybe it is because it's just so open-ended and you just keep going, now I need to get more crops. Eventually it just becomes an industrial sim at that point, where you just, like, how much ancient fruit wine can I produce in a season?
Right.
A lot.
It's a challenge for yourself at that point.
Yeah, you're making your own fun at that point. The storyline has been over. They actually did put in more endgame content that I haven't even seen yet, because I haven't been back to it, but there is more of, like, an ending story quest. But games like that, I occasionally play longer than they normally would assume. But for a Dying Light, or any of those open world games, I think after 50 hours or so, I'm not necessarily as engaged with it. I think I've crafted everything. I've pretty much gotten as far up in my leveling as I want, and the mechanics start to get repetitive by the time you get there. There's only so many iterations. A lot of Ubisoft games fall into that for me. I like to play around with them, and I like to see everything that they have. But there's only so many times that you can, like, kick somebody, do the Spartan kick off of a cliff, and just kick them off into the sunset before you just kind of go, okay, I'm bored now.
Right. I have noticed that with the Ubisoft games lately. They're very much reskins of the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is a common complaint.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a bad formula. It works. It's fun.
That's why they keep doing it.
Yeah, and it sells, but it does start getting to feel samey. Even with me playing Watch Dogs Legion recently, I'm going, man, this seems kind of like I'm playing Valhalla, but in modern day, and there's guns and drones.
Yeah.
Like, the setting is still cool. I still enjoy that, and I think the story is interesting, having not played any of the other Watchdog games. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, okay, it's one of those open world, kill people, stealth, or whatever games. Okay.
Yeah, when I get around to playing it, we'll have to have a conversation, because I did play the previous two.
Okay.
But the one thing that I liked about Watch Dogs that kept it a little bit fresh, the mechanics in there, is the whole hacking part of it.
Right.
Where every time you get to a facility, it's like, what shall I hack today?
I don't know what the hacking was like before, but now it's just kind of you push a button.
Yeah, you do the buttons. Can you still, like, call in raids and stuff on the facilities? And
Maybe? With different... I haven't unlocked all the different types of characters you can play yet. Well, you can recruit all sorts of characters. I think I've got like 9, 10 or 11.
Well, keep an eye out, because
I can summon drones.
You can summon drones, yeah. The thing is that, like, you would go up to facilities in, like, the second one that had it more, but you could call in either the police to say that there's, like, something going on at this facility, or you could call in enemy gangs to the facilities.
Well, I can get, like, a hooligan, and I can make people in the area start being crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a professional football hooligan.
And exploding gas cans and like setting off tripwires and taking over turrets at some point.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then I don't know if I can call in the police. We're kind of the police aren't really on our side in this game.
No, and they usually aren't. But I had a lot of occasions in the Watch Dogs, at least, where it was just literally, I stay outside the facility, I hack into the cameras, I get to the camera that looks the best, and then I start targeting certain people that are in the facility that are, armed guards and stuff, and say, put out a police warrant for that person. And
I can't do that.
Yeah, police come in and they have to, and then they get into a giant firefight because now the other guards want to go, okay, put out a gang hit on this person now. And then the gangs come in while the police are there. So now everybody's firing. And what I would do is I would just stay out, just watch everything on the cams in my drone, and just start exploding things, and there's electric fields and everything. And by the time I was done, everybody, like the police leave, the gangs leave, everybody's dead, and I just waltz into the facility and just kind of go, I shall take everything now, and I just start taking everything.
Yeah.
There's always something in Ubisoft games where it's like, okay, that's something I haven't necessarily seen before, but yeah, even then, you start to kind of like go, well, I know what I'm doing for every single encounter.
Yeah.
This is just what I'm doing. And personally, I have played games that are 3 hours long. I would not want them to be longer. There's just certain, especially narrative games, I wouldn't want to see them longer than the 3 or 5 hours that they are.
Right.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. It depends on what kind of game you're showing, because if like What Remains of Edith Finch was more than 2 or 3 hours long, I would feel like the pacing was completely wrong for the game, and I wouldn't really get as much out of the story. So, but yeah, 500 hours Dying Light 2, I'm kind of glad I don't have to do that. We should do our new segment. Ooh, new segment. Not news segment. But...
And not a nude segment.
No,
nobody
that's
wants
the only
that.
Delve fans. All right. So hi everybody. We have a brand new segment for the show.
We do that once in a while because we come up with ideas and we think they'd be good to do things with.
Absolutely. Alex, would you like to tell them about the new segment?
Sure. This new segment of our program, as you will, is called Mechanically Speaking.
Yes.
And that is where we talk about mechanics from either tabletop or video games, either in more detail, or we would like to maybe dissect some of them, or well, whatever mechanically we want to talk about. Hence, Mechanically Speaking.
Yeah, can break it down a little bit. And this is kind of a throwback to early Delve in a lot of ways, if people remember the very early proto-Delve episodes where we talked about game mechanics. This is that, but more of that. So,
more of that.
Even more. So, what did you want to talk about for our first Mechanically Speaking?
So going back to our, what is it? Berry Reboot?
Say Berry Reboot.
I actually want to talk to you about Nier Automata.
I like that subject.
Yeah, I figured a lot of people like that subject, and there were things in there I think we had discussed before slightly that I wanted to talk to you about, which are mainly the implants and plugins.
Okay, yeah, so what about the implants and plugins did you find most interesting?
Well, I thought the entire concept is really interesting, where obviously you're an android. For any of those people listening who have not played Nier Automata, you play an android, and you can get these chips that you can plug into your operating system and your robotic self, as you will, into your brain, whatever it is.
Your robo-brain.
Yeah, your robo-brain. And you can take and plug in different chips and take out other chips, for instance, to do various things, give you different abilities or skills, increase your hit points, your dodge. Basically, you augment your character with those. One of the things you can end up doing, I think you had told me about and I tried, is taking out your OS chip.
Yeah, you die instantly.
Yeah, which you just die because you've got no operating system anymore.
Right.
So that's fun. But I really thought it was a really interesting way to do that for a game. You don't see that very often, where you can, by taking and adding something to your character, you can be like, all right, I want it to display damage.
Right.
And if you take that out, it's like you no longer get damage displayed. Or you can display the basically all elements of the HUD are plugins that you can take in. You can have them in there, or you can take them out if you don't want them, which would make it so you have more space on your character to do other things. But like, for instance, maybe you no longer have a map. Maybe you no longer have a heads-up display at all, where there's no health bar or anything for you. Maybe it doesn't display the button prompts for dodging and stuff.
Yeah.
So like you can take out pretty much all the slots you want and make it so you've just got a very bare bones experience.
Oh yeah, the auto aiming, I think too. You can you have auto aiming features, but you don't necessarily. You can take them out. They're good for starting players or people that don't want to have like a hardcore experience. But you know, if you take it out, then you'll have a little bit more space if you're missing just a little bit of storage so that you can put in your next chip. The most fascinating part about that I found was, just like you're saying, is that like all the elements that you have on your screen, which we take for granted in a lot of games for the UI, all of those, displaying health above your enemies and everything, you know, damage and all of that, is just literally on lines inside of what you can have for storage.
Right.
And then as you get better, if you can make better chipsets, you can do more, but with less space used for each individual thing. And you can also, there's 2 different upgrades you can do so that you can expand, essentially, the amount that you have. It's similar in a lot of ways to what they used to do with, like, backpacks or storage space, but it's for your actual abilities.
Right.
It's not for what you're holding on to, because I don't really think that they do much for the backpack spacing, if I remember correctly.
Not
you
really.
pretty much carry everything. But for your actual abilities, having certain amounts that you have to work with, and even once you expand it out to the ultimate degree, you still have to make some pretty tough choices occasionally about what you are going to prioritize.
And I thought it was both really nice UI design and really nice like game design.
Oh yeah.
With all that, because it's not part of your settings menu. Like a lot of games will be like, all right, well you can go into the settings and turn off UI elements if you don't want them. For instance, you can be like, all right, I don't want the HUD. You can turn that off in some games. This one makes it a part of your character. Yeah.
I think that also works in terms of the story that they're telling and the world design.
And the fact you are an android.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at, is that as an android, it makes sense that your heads-up display, your everything, is literally inside of your operating system. And you have to determine if it's viable or valuable to you. And I think in a lot of ways, one of the aesthetic things that has always plagued a lot of games when they want to try to be immersive is, what am I going to display on screen? Because it kind of, like in real life, if you're trying to be immersive, it doesn't make sense that any of these things are on screen.
Right.
Why is it telling me what my health bar is? I shouldn't know that. Sometimes they'll do it because you're behind a screen, so you've got like the visor display on, like in what do I want to say, like in Metroid or in Halo, they'll do that. And some they'll try to just have absolutely nothing on screen, like in Metro, but trying to do it in a way like they did it in Nier, where you literally, it's because you're taking in and taking out different aspects of it. I find that to be really interesting and lore friendly for the mechanics. A good way of looking at how mechanics can actually augment in a lot of ways the actual story and the world that you're building.
Right. I know there was kind of like you could do the auto evade and auto dodge or that type of stuff. You know, it could make the game a lot easier. It can make the game a lot harder. You could play the game, build your character any way you want without having a skill tree, without having those the typical RPG elements we see where you've got a class and a build. For instance, this was you have plugins and you can play this game how you like. That was really cool. I think it would be really interesting to take the aspect they did there with the plugins, with the chipsets, and to do something similar. It doesn't have to be the same in terms of chips, obviously, but for a tabletop role-playing game, where your character doesn't necessarily have a class, but you've got a set of chips or upgrades, and you can choose them. And I think the RPG system I had originally been working on was kind of like you could pick and choose whatever you wanted to for your skills. But in this case, have some sort of RPG system where you can take different points, maybe crafting like shards or jewelry or something that augment your abilities. And just like, all right, well, I want to put this stone in that gives me the ability to have like more HP, or this one gives me spells. Things like that could be really cool in a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Because then you can just have a varying degree of customization with each character. And if you made it so you can upgrade those through crafting or create them through crafting, you'd have a money sink, which is really good to have in games like D&D, where you are rich beyond belief.
Yes.
At late levels, or you could just like make it part of your character's goal to like be the best at a certain thing, and they could find all sorts of resources to help them get better at that.
You know, okay, so here's something I'm thinking about, is what if you had, like, just, basically every player, when you start, has essentially, like, a blank slate, in that same way, but you don't necessarily have any inherent abilities, you got nothing to start with, but what you do have is essentially like a storage deck, or a carrying capacity number. Everybody has the same number, 10, whatever, to start. And so inside of that, you can now fill it up as you're going if you encounter them. Maybe there's a few starter ones that you get that aren't particularly good. Maybe they use up a lot of space in that. And all of the abilities or upgrades or augments or anything have a valuation of how many slots they take up. So if I have like 10 to start, and it says, okay, well, here's a basic, like, long-range attack that does X number of damage, has this kind of percentage to hit. That's going to take up, like, 3 slots. You can determine, do I want to put that in there for now and hope that maybe I come across something better in the future that might take up more space? If I want to be good at perception or anything like that, maybe there are perceptive skills that will take up 1 or 2 of your slots, but will give you information about enemies, or will make it easier for you to find objects in the environment. I could see that working. It would also be a very modified system, so that you could swap things out, put things in, determine how you want to do that. Maybe there's a cost to that. Maybe you have to do like the Ripper doc in Cyberpunk, where you have to go to somebody specifically to put in or take out the augments, because you only have so many slots, and somebody more talented than you have to do that. But even if it's an OS kind of thing like they have with Nier, maybe just that. Your character is a completely blank slate, but then you have a storage capacity, and you just have to figure out how you want to utilize that at any time.
I think it would be interesting if you were to run a D&D game with nothing but Warforged where you did that.
That would be an interesting thing, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it'd just be neat, because then you can have characters like, all right, well, instead of taking an ability, maybe I'll just take a stat increase.
Right.
Maybe I'll take something that gives me proficiency with different types, like a heavier armor and a specific weapon. So you get plugins for that, and then you're just like, then I'm just gonna put everything into strength. Every plugin I can get is just gonna go straight into one stat to dump it. And I think it would be really fun. I think it'd be interesting. You could break the game really easily, I think, by overpowering yourself in a lot of different ways.
Possibly.
But I think that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you break it, because here's the thing. As in similar fashion, I remember there were some games where, like, you could take defects in order to pump up different stats and stuff. I think
right. Usually the
Heroes
defects.
like yeah.
Well, they had one for D&D where you could do one too.
Sure.
Generally, the defects you can give yourself don't really match up to the amount of bonuses you can give yourself.
Right.
You're like, I'm gonna do this, like, get rid of this one thing, so I have I'm crippled in one area that I'm never going to use.
Right, exactly. But I think, like, if you're putting everything into, like, you have to assume, like, okay, I want to be Saitama. I want to do One Punch Man. Okay, so I'm just going to all strength, but one hit might kill you too, because you got nothing for health, you got nothing for defense, you got nothing else going on.
I mean, Saitama's not the best example for that, because not only can he kill everything in one punch, he is also super resilient and fast.
Right. So imagine imagine a character, though, where all they got is the punch. Okay, but if you come up against one person with a firearm, we're in trouble here. I don't think you're gonna make it there. I'm trying the Deathclaw build, right?
Right.
I'm gonna go in and punch things to death. I'm trying that. But I think what would work out really well is if you're during your upgrade system. Like, so I level up in the game, I get enough experience and I level up. The only thing that levels up at that point is your storage capacity. So like level 1 you get 10 and maybe you get 2 at level 2.
Oh yeah, you could do that. It'd be like how in 3.5, for instance, you gain skill points every level that you could just put into skills.
Right. This would be literally your storage deck expands, so you would have more space to put stuff into.
I think if you were going to do it that way, in this exact example, you would do a little bit of storage every level, and you would also get upgrade points every level.
You get your upgrade points.
So you could spend upgrade points to maybe upgrade a slot or upgrade a skill or whatever.
Upgrade a skill. You could. Oh well, you know what you could do. Yeah, if you had points where you could actually modify the modify your chips themselves.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it still keeps it all basically in your grid. It either improves the existing ones and maybe gives you more space so that you can expand how much you can use. And then that might need to have a cost. Maybe you could do it like almost like a crafting mechanic, so that you get a couple chances to roll better stats for different chips. That would be possible too.
Or you could get drops that are chips.
Yep.
Maybe you could salvage them.
Yep. And then you'd have to have like a little booklet. I guess it would be like a side book that you'd have, which is basically the crafter's guide.
Yeah,
chip crafter's
I think if you're going to do
guide.
it that way, it would be monsters have a chance to drop chips.
Yep.
And maybe you could get monster abilities, for instance, but they'd have like a set chance to drop them. So if you wanted to go try and get it, you could, go grind monsters out, for instance, if you really wanted to. Not something you typically do in TTRPGs.
Sure.
But you could be like, yeah, we're going to go slaughter a den of goblins, and I got this cool ability from the goblins.
Yeah, that would be interesting. The ability to like unlock things possibly as you get into higher levels. Well, you'd probably be just dealing with better monsters anyway that would have potentially better. But yeah, just randomized loot drops. Maybe you get the best version of it, or you get like the E or D version instead of the A.
Right.
Whatever, however you're classifying it. I'm getting an expert 10 level instead of a 1 level stuff.
Right.
This
does remind me of the old RPG system I had been working on, where it's you get these points, you can upgrade your character even without the class, and it's probably a lot more simple than the system I had been designing, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a bad thing, though. I kind of like the simplicity of what we're thinking about here, because it keeps everything like right in this one simple thing that just explains everything about your character that you can mod and change and move
and that's where Nier was like, all right, this is really cool design, and it's very simple, it's very modular, and it's very customizable, and just really refreshingly fun. And I don't know if there are any RPGs out there for the tabletop that have this kind of system in it. I know there are definitely plenty of classless systems.
Oh, sure.
But I don't know if any have that specific type of mechanic. And it would be cool to either make it myself eventually, because I had been working on something similar again, or figure out a way to make that work in a game and try it.
I'm not familiar with any systems that use this, but even if you could kind of get down just a basic idea of the character modeling, like the character design process for that might be handy. That would be a good starting block if anyone wanted to run the ball with it. We kind of
even again as the Warforged concept, if you wanted to make it so it was similar enough to Nier to make it worth stealing that entire concept, you could be like, all right, well, you're playing androids.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason, you could do that. You could have a cyberpunk-based RPG where this is how your character is built.
Basically, if Nier just made a tabletop version of the game, this would be a great way to do that.
We're gonna contact Square.
Yeah, we'll get in touch. We'll get in touch with the team. They'd love this. The only problem,
maybe Dark Souls has a board game. Why not?
A lot of video games have tabletop versions of them, so I'm not really surprised. There's a whole war game that they made out of Fallout.
Do
you not remember that? Yeah, Asmodee, I think. did it.
I
But
wanted to forget about it.
just so that you can have a giant what was it? The
Power
super
armor.
Well, you can have the power armor, but you can also have the
Oh.
super mutant behemoth models just hanging around on your table.
Just get Swan. It's all good.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, I hope that there's a mod for Fallout 4 where I can just play Swan.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. If not, I'm sure that with the cheat room I could just make myself that size. Just play a super mutant and then you just make yourself big. But anyway, so do you think that this is the kind of system that's actually something I'm wondering about. Could you kind of implement a system like this into an existing tabletop system? I don't know how well it's going to work if you try to just use like a regular, like a D&D or anything like that, and try to implement a system where everything becomes commodified in that way.
You could kind of, in a way, but it depends on if you're taking and changing the characters completely, or if you're just giving them items, for instance, that give them these abilities and traits and different things that do this.
Sure.
Because you could easily say make a character in D&D like that is a normal character, and then be like, all right, well, you've got, they have items that give you bonuses to abilities like strength or con, and they have items that can give you like wands and stuff that give you magic.
Yeah.
That you can use. So this would be like if you said, all right, well, you can wear 5 rings in D&D now instead of your 2 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I think the slots are. I don't remember. I think you can only wear 2 magic rings in most. I don't remember.
I think they assume 1 for each hand. There's a mod actually in Skyrim that's one of the most popular mods where you can wear 10 rings.
Yeah,
because
I mean, Thanos did it. Why not?
Well, yeah, exactly. You have 10 fingers, just put 10 rings on.
Well, a necklace, belts, trinkets, earrings, nose rings, lip rings. Just pierce my entire face, please.
I could wear so many rings on each hand too.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you want to do something like that, you could be like, all right, well, we're doing D&D, but you can all wear 5 rings that do different things, and you can get these drops that will give you either different skills or abilities or bonuses or whatever. You could easily do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It just would not be the core of your character. It would be to augment your character.
Fair enough. Yeah. I could see that working. I
think you could do something like that in most RPGs.
Yeah, you certainly could. It definitely works well as a video game mechanic, but I think that it's simple enough that it could translate without being super complicated or headache-inducing. Which we've talked about it once or twice on the show, is that a lot of video game mechanics end up being kind of a chore to try and put into a tabletop setting, because so much of the numbers and everything work behind the scenes in a video game.
Yeah, that's why you don't have the mastery mechanics in, say, the earlier Final Fantasies, where you get better at the skill by using it multiple times.
Right.
That's not really fun to implement in tabletop, because then you have to keep track of every single time you do use the thing.
Right, exactly. And so we had talked to, I think, about the Fable mechanics of the the idea of having different kinds of strength and dexterity experience that you're getting in addition, and then you'd have to try and figure all of that out. Yeah, it's not fun. But with Nier, it actually seems almost simpler than a lot of the systems, because you can focus it all on this one specific aspect to determine your entire character development.
Right. And that could be very fun.
That could be very fun. If anyone out there is interested in trying something like that, let us know. Alex has so much spare time to create these systems, so...
Yeah.
You know what the mechanic is that we actually need is an ability to build RPGs and stuff while you're playing Farming Sim.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
I'll just Farming Sim.
The trick there is me playing Farming Sim while I'm talking to someone on the call who's taking notes for me.
Yes, this would work. This could work. Theoretically. If anyone wants to sign up as my note taker, let me know.
Yeah,
exactly. We need a transcriber.
It's not paid. I'll give you stickers.
We'll have stickers.
I'll send you a t-shirt.
Any of these things work. Let's go for it. Okay, great. Thank you for joining us on our first Mechanically Speaking.
Mechanically spoken.
We have mechanically spoken. That's how we should end these. We have mechanically spoken. And I bang the table.
As you smash the table and blow at your microphone.
Blow out my microphone. So, we have one more thing to talk about today.
Except it's many things.
It's actually many, many things. But we are talking about our Steam wish lists. Not just about wish lists as a general concept. We were actually going to talk about some of the stuff that's actually on our Steam wish lists. Because it is, I think, the one platform, or one of very few, that we both use. So,
I mean, we both have Epic, but mostly for free games.
Mostly for the free games, yeah. And you don't use GOG very much.
No, I don't.
Even though I do, but...
And I definitely don't use G2A.
Yeah, no, I never touched G2A for the same reason. Probably the same reasons you have.
The scams?
That.
Yeah,
Mostly that.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I thought that we would take 5 games that are probably the most prominent games that are on our list.
Or at least just 5 interesting games each of us would like to get at some point.
Yes, 5 that I'm actually interested in. I was mentioning to Alex I probably have 15 on here. Some of them are just little free-to-play ones that I was thinking about getting, and some of them I just want to keep in my head that these did exist at one point, even though I have no interest in playing them. So I'm gonna talk about the ones that actually did look interesting. And I'm gonna start with one that has not been released yet, which is the reason why I have it on here. Probably a good idea to mention why I have it on here. Called Lies of P. Now, if you're not familiar with that, Alex, I don't begrudge you one bit. And I don't even necessarily know why I have it on here, because you wouldn't think that this would be the kind of game I'd be interested in. Because it is a Souls-like.
Okay.
From its very inception. It's probably, if you look at it, if anyone is out there looking at it, you're going to say, this looks kind of like Bloodborne. Bloodborne, a game I did not get to play because I didn't have a PS4, so I didn't have the option. But Lies of P is actually inspired by the story of Pinocchio. That would be the P in the story. It's an action Souls-like game set in a dark Belle Epoque world, so it's kind of like a Through a Mirror Darkly sort of a French setting that they're doing here. Guide Pinocchio on his unrelenting journey to become human. You know, the trailers are very much it looks very much like Bloodborne. It's sort of those Victorian era kind of cities that you're going down. Things look very, I guess, what I should say, people look very proper, but also like they live in a very dirty and plague-ridden city.
That's fun.
I have my top hats on, I got my monocles and everything, but also the dead span on forever outside of the walls of this city, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
fun.
Exactly. So I have that on there. There's no release date right now, but I wanted to keep an eye on it, so that's the reason why it's on there.
I actually have about 46 games on my Steam wishlist. And the reason for that is I try to only buy games on sale most of the time.
Sure.
I try at least 30% off is when I want to buy games, just because it saves me money. But the first game on my wishlist that I would like to mention is a game called Timberborn.
I have seen Timberborn, and I kind of know, I kind of figured that you'd be interested in it, so...
So you might see a theme as I go down this list. Timberborn, if you have not seen it, is it's an early access, it's already out, came out in September, but it's a colony sim, city builder, base builder, survival type game, with the caveat that it is the one and only Beaver-based city builder.
Mm-hmm.
And it is super cute. It's super interesting. You're building vertically. A lot of these games don't really have you build vertically like that. But everything's wood-based instead of like, oh, I have people and they need to build food and stuff. It's like, yeah, no, you need wood.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you can do stuff with the water. Like you can raise and lower the water, you can build stuff for irrigation. You don't generally see fluid dynamics in a lot of these base building games.
No.
And I saw this, I don't remember, I think I saw it right around when it came out, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah.
A beaver-based colony sim?
Yeah, beavers have taken over the world in this, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's post-apocalyptic for humans, but like they're beavers.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, it's overwhelmingly positively reviewed on Steam. It looks like it will be lots of fun, and honestly, I can't wait to play it so I can have a thriving beaver empire.
They really should have put "start a thriving beaver empire" at the top of that.
Right, and it's just something that looks both silly but actually really well done and fun.
Actually, while we're on the cute animal bandwagon, I'll throw another one from mine on here. Temtem. I have Temtem on here.
So fun note here, I also have that on my wish list.
Okay, cool. So this is fun. We can see if we have the same things on here. But Temtem is I'm waiting for it to be less money.
Yes.
That's the only thing. It's not that it doesn't look like it's probably worth it, but it's an investment. But anyway, has very positive reviews for all reviews, recent reviews. If people aren't familiar with Temtem, came out a couple years ago, and it was basically like, imagine Pokemon, but it's not done by the Pokemon folks.
It's multiplayer.
And it's a massive multiplayer creature creation adventure. And when it first came out, people were actually super impressed. It does not look like we did a cheap knockoff version of this. In fact, a lot of the graphics and the art style, and it looks better than when they did Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, it actually looks like they put more effort into it than the Pokemon company did.
Yeah, it's very stylized.
It is very stylized. It has a lot of graphic detail to it. It's kind of cel-shaded, like semi-cel shaded.
Yes.
But I don't mind cel shading at all. I've played plenty of games that use it, and I like the style. But I also like that it looks really vibrant, looks very crisp, and the monsters look engaging enough. And I like the idea that it actually did have like multiplayer components to it. Still technically in early access after 2 years. So that's something to be aware of, but they just recently had, I guess, the Arbory Island update, so I don't really know what that is, but new place to visit, I'm guessing. So
yeah, sounds like it. It looks like they also have some like house design you can do, like you can customize your living space as well, which is interesting for a game like this.
Oh sure. Yeah.
I guess it is a MMORPG and they all have player housing in them at these days, but except for World of Warcraft.
Yeah. But it does seem like the kind of MMO that I would be more interested in. Just because it combines more of the Pokemon elements with it, and I felt a little disappointed when I saw what they did with the actual Pokemon games that they came out with in 3D. This, I think, actually predates Sword and Shield, so that's...
It came out in 2020, so maybe around the same time-ish?
I think so. I think Sword and Shield came out by the end of the year. This came out at the start of the year.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
But yes, it is also on mine. I believe I assume it's free to play once you buy it. Like, you don't have to have a subscription.
I don't think there's a subscription.
And I have no idea about any microtransactions in it. So
that I don't know. They might have them, but hopefully you don't have to engage. I wouldn't get them if they had them, so...
Right.
But anyway. So, there you go. What else?
That does look fun. If it ever goes on deep sale, I hope to get it. And hopefully you and maybe Graveyard can also get it. And if anyone else is also getting it, let us know, because then we can totally all play together, for real.
Yeah, maybe we'll It's on all of our wish lists, so
yes.
When we see it go on, like, I don't know, maybe 50% or something would be good. Whatever, like if it's around $20 maybe, I think I'd be good with that.
I'd be okay with like 25.
25.
If it was $25, I'd get it.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds...
It's not that I don't have the money to buy it right now if I really wanted to. It's I don't have the want to pay $50 for a game. Generally,
I have a lot of things to play as it stands, so
right. Which is why, even though like Timberborn is on sale right now. It's like, I'd like it to be a little bit more on sale because I have other games I'm playing right now.
Exactly. I have a catalog as it stands. I would like to put it into my catalog, but I don't need it badly to play it right now.
Right.
So,
So for me, my second game, aside from Temtem also, is actually MMORPG Tycoon 2.
oh god.
I know Spiffing Brit had played MMORPG Tycoon, and I had watched it, and I was like, that seems really interesting. Again, you're going to see a theme with a lot of my games.
Mm-hmm.
It's a single-player world builder game about creating the greatest MMORPG of all time. It's a simulation strategy MMORPG builder. It's a management game. So again, the simulation game is the theme. I enjoy my simulation games. I like not necessarily god games, but I like being able to build towns and build things and have things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was fun. Spiff did a great video where he broke it, I think. But like you can do like, all right, here's a starting area and a quest giver, and you can do all this stuff and then kind of watch the world, and you can ban people for cheating. And I was like, this looks just so meta.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it just looks like it'd be a lot of fun to just play with and see what you can get up to. And like there's different islands, it looks like, and lands you can have. I don't know if you can randomly generate it, but there's different lands, different levels. And you can add different terrain, scenery, buildings, paths, NPCs, networks, and stuff. And then like it does look like as goal, it's like reach 100 subscribers is a goal that's on this screenshot here.
Fun.
And then configure a level 1 region. So that looks fun.
Is it a little bit like, just before you continue, is it a little bit like when they did the video game Tycoon, where you had to build the video games?
No, because this one is actually you've got a map with characters and stuff on it.
You're in it. You're not building.
You're like top-down world. Instead of like, you've got a team building it, it's like you're making the world and you're seeing the world.
Gotcha.
So that's really neat to me. I was like, that looks interesting. And just like this looks like one that like if I got it, I would probably be like, all right, I want to play this on our stream.
Oh sure.
Because I can be like, all right, what should I do now to absolutely fuck with everyone in this world?
Yeah. That one, Temtem would actually be a good one for us to play on stream. We could just do that together. That would be a fun one.
We could do that.
But the MMO Tycoon, I was not familiar with that, but...
No, it definitely is fun. We can probably link all these games in the description of the video if we want to as well. Yeah,
we probably will. I'll try to put something up for each one too, just so that people can see at least the cover art for each one of these, which is something I had done with like our Save Berry Reboot and all of those too.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So I got one on here that actually just came out in December. And so it's fairly recent. It's not really even all that expensive. I didn't know when I was going to get a chance to play it, but I don't know if you've heard of a game called Pray for the Gods.
I have not.
It is not. And note that Pray is going to be spelled Praey. And the reason why it's spelled that specific way is because it's both prey as in prayer and prey as in predator prey. What they did with this, it's No Matter Studios. It has very positive reviews, and what they basically did is they tried to create a Shadow of the Colossus inspired adventure where you have these giant massive creatures that are roaming the landscape, and the idea is that it's all the boss battles basically. The main thing is going to those bosses, climbing up those bosses. The way they describe it here is Pray for the Gods is a boss climbing open world adventure game. You can see where the inspiration from Shadow of the Colossus is, where you play a lone hero sent to the edge of a dying frozen land to explore and solve the secrets of a never-ending winter. You grapple, glide, and grab hold of massive beasts as you fight to survive and return the world to proper order. Very much inspired by Shadow of the Colossus, and considering it's been a very long time since we had one of those, and I had mixed feelings about Shadow of the Colossus. Like, I like the concept, I just didn't finish it. Like, I got the first few, and I was like, I like this, but it might have been a little sparse. But I'd like to see what a different studio does with the concept, because so few people are trying that. And it looks like it's 30. It's 30 normally. So I'll see. If it goes on sale, I'll probably pick it up. just because I'm willing to give it another try. I like the concept. I like the idea of the world building. Be interested to see what this new studio, I think it's a fairly new studio, I don't think they've done much else, does with the concept. So there's that.
Cool.
What do you got?
The next game I have is one you actually have played rather
Right.
recently, I believe. And it is Forza Horizon 5.
Yes.
I enjoy a bit of the car games, driving games from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it looked interesting, and I have a couple people I know who have played it and say it's good, and I would like to check it out, but not for a $50 price tag. Sorry,
Yeah.
a $60 price tag.
The thing about Horizon as a series I like, and really if you wanted to just try out the formula, because they're very similar in formula, all of the Horizon games, is imagine if you had like a racing game, but it was open world. You know, you
Right.
could go off the beaten path. In fact, there's a lot of times where if you're in like a point-to-point race, you're like, I'm going over the fields, damn it. You just
Right.
run through it, where they don't make you like try to like build up a ton of money so you can get the cool car. You could get it on a wheel spin. You could get a really cool car and you just unlock it. More taking the slog of a lot of racing games out and getting to the fun part of the racing cool cars around the landscape. It focuses more on that. And I appreciate it for it. They also have like environmental disasters in the fifth one, where like
Okay.
you run into the sandstorm as it's coming at you and stuff. But yeah, 5 looks beautiful. It's practically photorealistic if you have a graphics card big enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say that I know the kind of racing game you like. It is not very sim-like.
That's okay sometimes.
What else do I have here that I'd like to talk about? Okay, I have an odd one that came out at the end of last year, and I think the reason I put it on here is because it is odd. Honey, I Joined a Cult.
Another one that is also on my wish list.
Okay, so I guess we can kind of both talk about why this is on the wish list. From the description, it's time to start working towards that ultimate goal of enlightenment, faith, and money. Lots and lots of money. Create, customize, expand, and manage your own cult whilst listening to funky music in Honey, I Joined a Cult. Looks a little bit like Prison Architect.
Which I have,
Okay.
and I enjoyed.
The graphic style, nice, lively, colorful. I just think I really liked the idea that somebody created a game called Honey, I Joined a Cult.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, obviously you see tons of, again, this fits in with my theme of enjoying the simulator and
It is
those types
that,
of games, and management games a bit. But this one is like, all right, we're going to take that and put a spin on it that makes it a little weird, a little silly. Yes, we'd like you to join a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine what shenanigans. I mean, I have RimWorld, and that one you can have with the ideologies. You can be like, yeah, you're all going to be cannibals. Who cares? And the amount of mods people make for that, where it's just a lot of really fringy content for some of those. But this one seems like I assume, rather wholesome take on the cult thing. And everyone loves hearing about cults. So I imagine you'll get tons of interesting stories out of this game.
I mean, it does look kind of 70s inspired, like from the graphic art style to the fonts.
That's the heyday of cults.
That is, and I mean, just the handlebar mustache that the guy has alone seems like it's worthwhile. Got the spiral glasses, got the Illuminati eye above on the cover. All good, all good.
Yes, that game looks interesting, and I would like to also get it when it's a little bit deeper on sale.
Yeah. Not particularly expensive, but I don't need to play it right now.
The next game I have on here that is not out yet, to be determined, or to be announced rather, is actually called Bandit Simulator.
Oh, okay.
It says explore the open medieval world, explore the open medieval world and become a bandit. There's a comma after open. I don't know why. Choose whether you want to remain an ordinary pocket thief or king of robberies. Become a part of a city legend or plan your robberies carefully or bet on dynamic gameplay. Be unique, be a bandit. That's all it says.
Be unique,
It's
be
a
a bandit.
it's a first-person immersive sim. Some of the tags include trading, archery, swordplay, action RPG, gun customization, even though I think it's bows, realistic medieval assassin CRPG. I don't think it's a CRPG. Violent survival FPS. It's a first-person, like Skyrim looking like game,
Sure.
kind of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Except you can like just be a bandit and rob people and things like that, and
Perfect.
it just looks silly.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous. Like the video I'm watching, the guy just kicked the chicken and it kind of exploded.
Oh, fun.
But like you can like steal everything, which is what we all end up doing in Skyrim anyways,
Oh, sure.
or and whatnot. So it's just like this game looked silly. It's interesting. There's a demo you can get right now. There's definitely a guy in the alleyway that just says "not illegal" behind him, who has a fence, obviously.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
So it's just rather interesting as a game, and it just seems like it would be fun for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I might actually try out that simulator because this does look interesting to me.
Right?
Well, yeah, because I mean, I've played my fair share of like medieval games, but I kind of like the idea of a concept like, no, you're just a bandit this time.
Yeah, you're not
We're
the hero.
We're gonna throw out the pretense that you're supposed to be the noble hero in this. No. We're going straight to the, to the chaos. I like that.
Yeah. Just straight Robin Hood here.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I will now add it to my wish list.
See, look at that. We've
There we
got
go.
like 3 games together on the wish list that we both want, and then you added a game I wanted.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
I think you're on to your last one.
I am on to my last one. See, I was actually going to mention one I know you already have, which is Valheim, but I'm not going to do
I don't
that.
have Valheim.
You don't? Oh,
I
okay.
do not.
Okay.
I've seen it played. It's interesting.
Yeah. But that's actually not the one that I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about Encased, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic RPG. Encased, I'll read the tagline so that you kind of get an idea, but a tactical sci-fi RPG set in an alternate 1970s where an enormous and inexplicable artifact, the Dome, is discovered in a remote desert. Fight enemies, explore the anomalous wasteland, level up your character, join one of the forces in the ruined world. To kind of give people an idea of what this is like old school Fallout. This is like CRPG era Fallout 1 and 2 kind of style. Look, aesthetic, dialogue, trees, that kind of thing. But obviously with modern hardware from a new developer. But definitely inspired by that. You can see the Fallout inspiration all over it. More of a tactical game, so it's going to be a little bit more, XCOM-y, I think, in terms of its layout. Has very positive reviews, came out late last year, never got around to actually playing it. And just mostly waiting for it to be on sale, and, it's hasn't been out for very long, like a lot of these games, so I'm just kind of trying to wait out a little bit to see how I'm gonna like it. But they also mentioned some like Stalker inspiration and stuff like that, so a lot of interesting stuff. More of a tactical RPG, but I do like those myself. So inspired a little bit more like Wasteland and that kind of thing. But anyway, you have one more now.
There are so many games on here that I would like to get.
Oh my goodness.
What is the last one? I think the last one I actually want to mention is called Atlas Architect.
Architect, okay.
It's not that I necessarily need this game to go on sale. I just haven't really gotten around to getting it yet because it's only $6. It's a creative game where your imagination is your limit. That's the entire thing that it says. It's a casual building, procedural generation, exploration, sandbox simulation, top-down, quote-unquote, god game city builder, etc., etc. It's kind of like a level editor, but if you look at it, you just kind of build like an atlas, as you will. You just build out your terrain. So I think it's really cool from a standpoint of like an RPG map maker, for instance.
Sure.
But it's like you can plop down different tile sets and build it in different ways and make it kind of customized. I think it would be actually really handy as a map maker if you wanted to have a really cool looking map
Oh, sure.
of your RPG and you want to build the world in this. I think it would be really handy for that.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I'll actually just pop that on my wish list just so that I
Look
can
at
keep
that.
a tab on it. But
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think I need it to go on sale as much as I would just like to have a time when I would like to use it.
oh yeah, it's a little bit more of a functional tool set more than
Yeah.
a game, from what I'm saying. Yeah.
Which I think is really neat.
mm.
But you know, map making is can be fun. Map making can be difficult. But I think with something like this, it could be a lot more fun, and you could just be like, all right, well, I made this map, and then maybe I will make some lore for it, and then go from there. I think it'd be really cool to use this in conjunction with building a campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You see, at first, when you said Atlas, I got worried you meant like Atlas, the game Atlas, which
No.
which was notoriously has very mixed reception since it came out.
I don't think I even know that game.
Oh well, you look up Atlas at some point, and you're gonna see it was that was a thing.
Okay.
That was an attempt at making like an MMO pirate game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but okay, great. So Atlas engine, or no, not Architect. There's an Atlas engine too, but Atlas Architect. Yeah. So anyway, that's a little bit of a smattering of some of the things that we have on our wish list of stuff that we'd like to play in the future. And I'd be curious to know some of the games that you have on your wish list. It doesn't even have to be on Steam if you don't use Steam. If you have Epic or if you have GOG or anything like that, I probably have a wish list on those too of games. I'd be interested to know what you're keeping tabs on to play in the future.
Cyberpunk, I want to get it when it's half off.
It was half off not too long ago.
I know, half off, and I'm willing to spend the money.
Okay. I did realize, like, when they were doing the Epic sale, I think it was half off, and you could have gotten your $10 coupon, too.
Probably,
So
but
you could get it for 20 or
I'm
something.
still waiting for them to iron out all the bugs.
A lot of the bugs have been ironed out, I will say. But no, I get it. You're in no rush.
Right. I'm in no rush.
All right. So, that does it for this episode of Total Pebble Knockdown. However, if you happen to be over on our YouTube channel, you will also have a bonus video this week on Friday for a Friday follow-up. We haven't done those before, but we are going to do one this week. So go and check that out when it drops. Another bonus segment. Ooh, bonus segments. This has got to stop wobbling. There. Great.
One day we'll have cameras figured out.
One day we're going to have cameras figured out. I have like Vaseline on my lens right now. I don't know why. But anyway.
Weird.
So thank you for joining us. Alex, if they want to find out more information about Total Pebble Knockdown, where can they go?
You can go to our website over at totalpebbлекnockdown.com, where we have a brand new page up there and edited and correctly formatted for guest hosts. If you'd like to come on the show to be a guest, we have a little set of guidelines to help you better choose what option you would like. Whether you want to promote one of your own projects or if you'd like to talk about several topics and be a guest host. So check that page out. Send us a message with the form we've got there, and we'll work something out so we can have you on the show.
I know we have forms and everything. It's fun.
Yeah, trying to make it really official.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it look really official.
Gotta
Hi.
look pretend professional for people.
Don't we look like professionals on this? I'm sure
No.
we do. My Vaseline camera, and you were pixelated for a second. We're good. We're all
We're
good.
good.
Fine. Make sure to also click on our Patreon button while you're over there and check out what we have for you. If you become a patron, you will get full video episodes of the show before even the individual segments or the podcast releases, so that's fun. And we have bonus content for you, sort of the behind-the-scenes convo stuff that we do before and during. You can also find early episodes of Like Titanium Mine before they release as well. That's always fun. And don't forget to check us out on social media, especially if you want to contact us about any of the questions we might have mentioned on the show. I am at Titanium.
I am at EXP Limited, and the show is at Pebble Knockdown.
That's right, for all of your knocking of pebble needs. I think that's how that works. Sure. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode, we think. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.